In a recent emergency session of the United Nations General Assembly, St. Kitts and Nevis voted in favor of the UN resolution calling for the end of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. St. Kitts and Nevis's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Ian Patches-Liebert, told SKN Newsline that the overwhelming votes in support of Ukraine against Russia's invasion is one of solidarity that should send a message to Russia. After Russia vetoed the UN Security Council's resolution against the invasion, the matter was moved to the General Assembly.
General Assembly resolutions are not legally binding, but no doubt serve as reflection of the world opinion. So that, in a sense, is what has happened. You will recall that on Wednesday last, there were some 141 votes in favor of the resolution that was brought to the General Assembly, beg your pardon, after the veto in the Security Council. So 141 countries voted in favor of the resolution. There were some 35 abstentions. There were 4 no votes, and 11 members, I think, did not vote. The position of CARICOM is clear. And based on our instructions from our capital in Basseterre, we voted in favor of that particular resolution that reprimanded Russia for invading Ukraine and also demanded its immediate withdrawal. Now, for me, of St. Kitts and Nevis, our vote was one that sought to uphold the purposes of the United Nations that include, but are not limited to, the maintenance of peace and security throughout the world. Our vote was also to uphold the principles of the United Nations Charter that are based on sovereign equality, political independence, and territorial integrity of all its members. And St. Kitts and Nevis signed that charter some 39 years ago after becoming independent as a federation.
Ambassador Liebert said it was an historic vote of the international community denouncing Russia for choosing a path of confrontation rather than diplomacy. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, is completing the final testing and assurance exercises following the system updates and will make the Dcash platform available for public use next week. According to a press release from the ECCB, the road to Dcash has been a novel and rewarding journey, though not without its challenges. In January 2022, the Dcash system experienced its first interruption since its launch in March 2021. As a result, the processing of new transactions on the Dcash network was halted. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank said its interruption was not caused by any external intervention. The security and integrity of all Dcash data, applications, and architecture, including all central banks, financial institutions, and merchants, and wallet app remain secure and intact, the central bank said. Following the interruption, the ECCB took the opportunity to undertake several upgrades to the Dcash platform, including enhancing the system's certification management processes, the initial cause of the interruption, and updating the version of Hyperledger Fabric, the foundation of the Dcash platform. These updates have further strengthened the robust security mechanisms which ultimately underpins the Dcash technology, resulting in a more resilient product. The central bank said the process of introducing a digital sovereign currency was a major feat, which saw the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU, becoming the first currency union in the world to issue a digital currency. This is a learning experience for the ECCB and for the entire central bank digital currency CDBC community. The ECCB said, despite the recent service interruption, we affirm our commitment to the financial inclusion agenda. The people of the ECCU remains at the center of the Dcash pilot. With humility, we continue to test and learn, an essential ingredient of innovation, as we press forward with the payments resolution for the people of our region. As we look forward to the future, several new features will be added to the list of Dcash functionalities and tested as as part of the pilot. These include the introduction of an e-commerce function, which will allow business owners to accept Dcash via their websites, government-to-consumer payments, and the rollout of the pilot to the final ECCB member country, Anguilla. Dcash is transformative and consequential in providing a faster, safer, and cheaper payment platform. Within the confines of the pilot or test environment, the ECCB will continue to evaluate the Dcash product and its infrastructure and ensure that adjustments are continually made for the overall enhancement of the product prior to commercialization. The ECCB said it again acknowledges the inconvenience caused because of the service interruption and assures that it remains committed to serving the people of the ECCU and helping to promote shared prosperity by creating real opportunities for positive transformation. I am Justin Titishera for SKN Newsline.
Why cook on a Sunday? Come have lunch at Jamrock Restaurant in Frigate Bay. Jamrock offers an eclectic menu of some of the finest dishes, sumptuous appetizers, delicious entrees, soups, and one of the best drink menus any restaurant has to offer. Open for lunch on Sundays at 12 noon. And stick around or come back later for Sunday night karaoke. Jamrock is where to be on a Sunday. Check them out on the other days of the week. They are open every day. Jamrock Restaurant. Call 662-9973. Come rock with us at Jamrock.
Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
Smart Electronics and Island Electronics. Get cell phones starting from $199, smartwatches and earpods on special. Get a great phone case with purchases over $500. Come to Smart Electronics and Island Electronics for the best deals in electronics, gadgets, and appliances. Visit Smart Electronics at Port Zante or Island Electronics on 4th Street. Call 667-3350 for Island Electronics or 466-4271 for Smart Electronics. Both stores open at 8:30 a.m. Two stores, one great experience.
Officials of the Caribbean Community and the Central American Integration System, or CICA, have signed a revised CARICOM CICA Plan of Action aimed at facilitating progress in areas of investment, tourism, trade, and public health. The new plan is designed to put new life into a previous agreement for collaboration between the two regions. CARICOM Chairman Prime Minister John Briceño described earlier attempts as unsatisfactory. According to the CARICOM Chairman, the new plan of action holds the chance of real progress between the two regions.
Together, our sub-regions have a population of 60 million, a collective GDP of nearly $400 billion. The possibilities for intra-regional trade are clear. The opportunities for cross-regional investments are obvious. For sure, if we want it to be so, a common future awaits us. Let's grasp it now, today. The longer we delay the effective activation of our partnership, we miss valuable opportunities to fully realize our development and to protect and enhance our shared neighborhoods. Our foreign ministers have revised our CARICOM CICA Plan of Action, a coherent and achievable program of work to ensure that our cooperation is relevant to the current circumstances and contributes to our sustainable economic recovery. Importantly, we have also agreed to a follow-up mechanism to ensure implementation and continuity. Effectively implementing our agreed plan of action will build confidence and trust in our partnership.
The CARICOM Seeker Summit was held after the completion of the 33rd intersessional meeting of CARICOM heads of government that was held in San Pedro, Belize. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
The World Health Organization has set out major global targets aimed at defeating the COVID-19 pandemic. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws outlined the targets and the process made by the Ministry of Health in St. Kitts and Nevis in combating COVID-19 during the NEOC press briefing this week.
The World Health Organization recently announced these 4 global targets. We became aware of these earlier this week. I think it was on February the 28th, as we attended the 9th ACTA Facilitation Council meeting. These global targets are as follows. The aim is to 1. Vaccinate 70% of persons in every country by mid-year 2022 or by June 2022. Secondly, the aim is to reach a minimum testing rate of 100 tests per 100,000 persons per day. And this is, all territories globally. Thirdly, the aim is to provide care for all COVID-19 diagnosed cases in all countries. And fourth, the aim is to protect all our essential healthcare workers in terms of PPE, and I'll add through vaccination also. So these are the WHO targets set for all countries globally, including St. Kitts and Nevis.
The Ministry of Health undertook a public awareness campaign in an effort to inform members of the general public about everything COVID-19 related, stressing the importance of relying on credible information given the rapid spread of disinformation and misinformation in society. In terms of COVID-19 testing, all persons within the Federation who have tried to access testing have been tested, and this includes persons with or without symptoms.
So persons with or without symptoms, persons who are about to travel, outbound passengers who are in need of testing, they have been able to access COVID-19 testing. And so that's one of the successes that we enjoy here in the Federation. COVID-19 testing is readily and continue to be readily available. Now, in the Federation, all persons who are diagnosed with COVID-19, they are also able to access care, medical care. So majority, they are only mildly ill, and so they are followed up by our case managers. There are some, a small percentage, who would go to the emergency room for care, and some have been admitted to the COVID ward or the ward on at the Alexandra Hospital. And so all persons diagnosed with COVID, they have received adequate care.
The Ministry of Health continues to encourage all persons living within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis who can be vaccinated against COVID-19 to do so. I am Jacinthia Teixeira for SKN Newsline.
If you're looking for a place to host that special event, conference, meeting, social event, party, whatever the occasion, your best option is the Millhouse Convention Center in Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Located on the picturesque Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guesthouse Convention Center has enough space for outdoor events overlooking the Caribbean Sea. If you're looking indoors, the center is equipped with amenities needed to make your event a success. And by combining both spaces, you're sure to have a memorable event, no matter the occasion. Call the offices at Millhouse Guesthouse and Convention Center to book your next event on simply the most beautiful place in St. Kitts. Call 668-1392. Millhouse Convention Center at Garvey's Estate, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Making your event memorable. It's the new and improved SKN Newsline Android mobile app. With the SKN Newsline app, you can watch our news reports, the SKN Newsline newscast, sports, special features, and so much more. You can also send us a WhatsApp or call us directly. Go in the Google Play Store, search SKN Newsline, and download the app today. The SKN Newsline Mobile App. News on the go.
An open interactive event can be described as
tremendous, effective,
on par with any conference around the world.
From exhibitions to trade shows, corporate events to product launches, from press events to political functions. We are the secret sauce behind events that make you go, wow. We've staged multiple world-class events in the Caribbean and developed the skill to deliver quality in every detail, whether the event is live or fully virtual, or maybe even somewhere in between. At Open Interactive, we got your events covered. Get your free quotation today at www.madebyopen.com.
Do not panic. Jamaica's oil supply chain is not in jeopardy. That assurance this evening from the Energy Minister amidst mounting concerns about the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Daryl Vaz was speaking at today's sitting of the Standing Finance Committee of Parliament. Andrea Chisholm has that report.
Russia has been facing tough economic sanctions because the country has waged war on Ukraine. The global energy market has been a casualty of war. Oil prices have skyrocketed and there are valid concerns about supplies. That's because Russia is the third largest producer of oil, responsible for over 10% of global supplies. Jamaica's Energy Minister Daryl Vaz has made an assessment.
There's no need to panic as it relates to our supply, and we'll be monitoring obviously the prices as things and times unfold. Jamaica has 3 to 4 weeks reserve supply of finished product and 6 weeks of crude. This situation is being actively monitored and our supply chain is not in jeopardy.
He says Jamaica gets crude oil and finished products from Colombia, Ecuador, Brazil and Barbados through fixed contracts.
The fact that there may be some dislocation in relation to that supply from Russia, obviously it's an opportunity for other persons to ramp up to be able to meet that shortfall. So I want to categorically state to the people of Jamaica today that we have storage capacity both in Jamaica and outside of Jamaica.
Interestingly, in February this year, a team from Petrojam was part of a Jamaican delegation in Nigeria talking about issues linked to energy security.
The main discussion at the meeting was the finalizing of our MOU on oil and gas cooperation, and this MOU covers crude oil supply arrangements with Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, cooperation in oil and gas exploration, technical support in optimizing our local refinery operations, and last but not least, liquefied natural gas from Nigeria and the setting up of an LNG tank farm.
Meanwhile, Brent crude oil rose to $119.84 per barrel on Thursday. Consumers will therefore continue to see an increase in the price of goods. Opposition spokesman on energy Philip Paulwell suggested that Jamaica's pricing arrangement be suspended.
Would the government be prepared to contemplate an easing of that, and especially because I see you're forecasting a profit of $2.4 billion for Petrojam this year?
So that obviously will be a matter that would have to be discussed and considered both at the Cabinet and Ministry of Finance consultations. Obviously, in any scenario like that, it may require a subsidy, and therefore, obviously, that based on all that's happening with the pandemic, etc., and now this, it wouldn't be just something that we could just do without deeper consultation and review. But I take your suggestion on board.
Minister Vaz is encouraging Jamaicans to conserve on fuel, and that includes electricity. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has recently updated its guidelines on COVID-19 therapeutics to include a conditional recommendation on Merck & Co.'s COVID drug Malnupavir. Under this conditional approval, the Merck's COVID-19 antiviral pill was approved for patients who are currently in the early stages of the disease or experience mild to moderate symptoms of the virus. Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, providing insight on the pill, noted that it was approved by WHO for emergency use authorization in several countries, including the United States of America and other stringent territories, and soon will be adopted in Guyana.
About a month ago, we have had an application in Guyana for the use of Malnupavir, and the Food and Drug Administration here would have granted to that local importing agency the right to import and to use Malnupavir as an emergency use under this regimen of emergency use authorization.
The health minister said his ministry will continue making efforts to access the drugs to be used in the public health sector.
And from the ministry level, we would also be making some attempts to get some of the medicines into our system.
Anthony, while sharing precautionary measures for using the antiviral pill, advised that it should not be given to pregnant and breastfeeding women or persons with allergies.
Basically what it does, you use 800 milligrams every 12 hours, and you use that for 5 days, and it's for patients who might have mild to moderate symptom, but because of other factors like comorbidities and so forth.
According to research, Malnupavir is said to reduce hospitalizations and death by 30%, and among the COVID-19 antiviral pills currently in Guyana is Remdesivir, which is being administered to hospitalized patients since September 2020. As of March 3, 433,155 persons have received a first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, and 329,487 are fully vaccinated. In the adolescent category, 33,629 have accessed a first dose, while 24,325 have accessed both doses. 51,547 persons have taken booster jabs. Reporting for DHP Nightly News, Joel Vogt.
NATO foreign affairs ministers are meeting for a special summit on Ukraine. It comes as allies tighten sanctions on Vladimir Putin's inner circle. At a news conference with the US Secretary of State, NATO's Secretary General condemned Russian shelling on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear site as reckless.
We condemn the attacks on civilians, and over the night we have also seen reports about the attack against the nuclear power plant. This just demonstrates the recklessness of this war and the importance of ending it, and the importance of Russia withdrawing all its troops and engaging good faith in diplomatic efforts.
Every ally, in one way or another, is coming to Ukraine's assistance. Every ally, in one way or another, is helping to strengthen NATO itself. And as the Secretary General said, ours is a defensive alliance. We seek no conflict. But if conflict comes to us, we're ready for it, and we will defend every inch of NATO territory.
Our diplomatic editor James Bays is live for us in Brussels. James, so another meeting, a flurry of meetings in the past week. What's happening today?
Well, yes, we've got NATO ministers meeting, foreign ministers. They're joined by some other countries, Sweden and Finland, which aren't NATO members, and the European Union represented at this meeting, and then the other way around in the afternoon when it'll be the European Union meeting and non-members of the European Union like the US and the UK and the NATO Secretary General will be attending that meeting. I think the idea is to look at what they've done so far and see if there's anything more that they can do. Clearly, they've gone further, I think, than many of the ministers thought they would at the start of this conflict in terms of sanctions, and I think they'll be looking at what other measures they can take. But you're not going to see these foreign ministers here at NATO doing what the Ukrainian government would want, and that's to actively support the Ukrainians, perhaps with a no-fly zone. A no-fly zone would need to be enforced by NATO aircraft. We've seen how that works in Libya. We saw how it worked with Kosovo. They would have to be, those NATO aircraft, potentially shooting down Russian aircraft. Then you have a war involving NATO and Russia, and of course the US is a member, the biggest member of NATO, you then effectively have a world war and World War III. So that is something that they will not countenance, and I don't think that is being suggested by any of the 30 NATO members who are now meeting in their closed meeting. I think some, though, of the NATO members, and particularly those that are close to Russia, have borders with Russia, are concerned. We've seen major reinforcement of those countries in the last couple of weeks, but some, for example, the Latvian foreign minister on his way into the meeting said it was time to go from a deterrence mission to a full-scale defensive mission. Now, what he means by that, and whether he wants even more troops, that's not clear, but I suspect that many of the Baltic states would certainly like to see the presence of these troops, including US troops, made more permanent. The NATO Secretary General has called the situation now the new normal, and in many ways you could divide NATO's history. 1945 to 1989 was the Cold War. 1989 until a couple of weeks ago was phase 2. He now says we're in a new normal, which some NATO nations say will require different position of forces in the future.
James Bays, diplomatic editor in Brussels. Thank you.
Hayley Matthews was outstanding with bat and ball as the West Indies began their ICC Women's Cricket World Cup 2022 campaign with a 3-run victory over host New Zealand. Matthews hit a career-best 119 to lead the Windies to 259 for 9 and then took 2 for 41 to inspire her side to an unexpected win. She shared a 66-run partnership with captain Stephanie Taylor, which took the side over the 100 mark and laid the foundation for the highly competitive score. Also getting runs for the regional side were Chady Nation with 36 and Stephanie Taylor 30. New Zealand rose to the challenge of the chase with captain Sophie Devine scoring 108 at the top of the order. A key moment in the West Indies defence came when veteran spinner Anisa Mohammed trapped Amy Satterthwaite, LBW, to end a 76-run partnership with her skipper. Mohammed then took care of Leigh Tahuhu in her next over. They made 31 and 9 respectively. But the Kiwis kept plugging away, and it took a spectacular last over from Deandra Dottin to cap off the victory. She took care of Katie Martin, who made 44. Then Jess Kerr, and rounded out the heroic performance with an assist in the run-out of Fran Jones, which ended the match. Hayley Matthews was named player of the match for her all-round performance. West Indies take on England next on Tuesday. Wayne Cunningham, TTT Sport.